All right, guys, thank you for joining me today, tonight, this afternoon. Sorry, this morning. Yeah. So again, appreciate it as always. And today we're going to talk about. There's a lot of things we're going to go over as far as news wise, but we're probably going to focus on what's going to happen tomorrow, or rather midnight tonight. So though I am releasing a video later today, which will probably be around 11:15, 11:30 on the Angry Truth channel, talking about the immigration crisis, we're going to go into the immigration crisis happening at the border and here in New York, obviously because I live here. We're also going to talk about a couple of other interesting things I have had or seen happen um, in the news, which I thought was interesting. And, obviously some sad shit that's missed because we're focused on everything else going on. So, yeah, give me 2 seconds to square some shit away. I should have had this fucking spun up already, but I didn't. So, in case you guys are not following him, Pinball Preparedness, he is on point with what's going on with this whole financial shit, money, things like that. He has a better understanding, like I said before, of when it comes to finances and economy. I have bare bones, right? So I just shoot it straight. Whereas um, he can dive deep into it. Plus, I mean, like I don't a lot of the information that he finds. I find it interesting. He was talking about the 14th Amendment being was it instated or enacted on, and of course an article I saw yesterday or last night rather was talking about how Janet Yellen wants to is calling for the 14th Amendment to be instituted. But I don't, like I said, he explains the 14th Amendment a lot better than I would, or I could rather. Good morning, everybody. For those who are saying good morning, I appreciate it. Thank you for the 5x5, Mr. Landfill. Appreciate it as always. All right, guys, so let's dive right into this shit because, listen, the border is going to turn into a shit show. Um, I, I, it's going to be bad, right? So now, for those of you that remember the video that I did early last week, I was talking about the border crisis, and if those of you remembered, the number I threw out there was 40,000. And remember, I said they were being generous with that number. I said it was going to be higher, a lot higher. My a lot higher was anywhere between, I don't know, 50, 60, 75,000. The number now that they're throwing at us, as far as estimate goes, is 700,000 to a million illegal immigrants crossing the border come midnight. Now, that is not to say at midnight all 700,000 are going to cross. This could be over the course of a couple of days. It could happen in a couple of hours or a couple of days. Who knows? But it's a problem. So, the border crisis, guys, is going to be absolutely worse than originally thought. Even if it's on the low end of 700,000 immigrants crossing, that's still bad. Again, I mentioned 40,000, and I thought they were lowballing it and being generous about it. They were well under scoring that the number of people, and a million on the high end, guys. A million is, first of all, 40,000. I thought was unstoppable. 700,000, you might as well just stand there and let everybody cross in, because what are you going to do? Unless you take action, guys, unless you do something, use force, nothing's going to stop them. These people are willing to drag their kids miles to make it here. There's nothing that's going to stop them. I don't even think force would stop them at this point. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. You start taking pot shots at people, you're going to have a few thousand people turn away, but I don't know if you're going to have a few 100,000 turn away, especially if they decide to rush it at the same time. Kathy, thank you. And Adam87, I did not see what Biden said about Texas. Could you elaborate on that? Thank you. I would greatly appreciate it. Listen, guys, so many things are going on. It is hard to keep track. It really is. I find out information looking at pinball. I find out information looking at different. I'll be researching for another video and topics to talk about because that's how much shit's going on. It'll be unrelated, and I'll be like, "Wait, what did that article say?" And then I click into that, and that's a rabbit hole of shit that man, there's just a lot going on. You know, you got the cloud seeding thing becoming a big problem, and the problem with cloud seeding, a lot of people. This is the one thing that none of the cloud seeders are talking about, or the engineers are talking about, is that cloud seeding displaces clouds from other parts of the region, and if not country. So the cloud seeding is definitely going to clouds here on the planet were dissipating, right? So they're disappearing forever. Less and less are being formed, rather, and so cloud seeding is becoming this thing that's going to definitely destroy more clouds, if that makes sense, and destroy more clouds being naturally built. I don't want to go down that road. That's a different road for a different time. I'll definitely do not a video, but maybe have a live stream talking about cloud seeding, as I understand that it's definitely going to make life harder for us, especially being that the powers that be control cloud seeding. They control where rain falls, where crops grow. Keep that in mind. Anyway, back to the problem at hand. So, guys, here is the bigger issue that no one's talking about with this wave or this invasion of people coming here. The bigger issue is the cartel. The cartel is supposedly behind corralling as many people as they can to the border, trying to, if you will, flood the border with the illegals and trying to break the system, as they put it. Okay. So now that they're like, oh, the cartel, they're going to flood the United States border with illegal immigrants by gathering as many as they can before May 11th. What they're doing, guys, is they're making the biggest drug push you have ever seen in world history. Forget about American history. They're going to have probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people carrying drugs across the United States border. The only reason why the cartel gets involved in this is not because they care about their countrymen, because they don't. It's because they want to move as much product as they possibly can across that border. The ideology is, if we can flood the border with as many mules as we possibly can, how could they stop it? They might be able to stop only a quarter of it. Maybe, if that. So that's the bigger problem. We're going to have an influx of drugs like we've never seen before. A lot of places, guys, I think a town in Washington State has outlawed, not drugs, they outlawed something, homelessness, or maybe it was drugs. I read the article. Again, I'm reading so much, guys, it's hard to keep track of this shit. It really is. Let's talk prepping. Linda, what's going on? Thank you for joining me this morning. Or us this morning, rather. Sorry. But that's a bigger problem, guys. We're definitely going to see an influx of drugs. And being that the cartel, again, are involved, they're doing it for their own means. I've never seen cartel go, this is for our countrymen, Migos and burritos and all kinds of Taco Bell shit. They don't do that. They don't do it for the love of the country. They do it for the love of money. And they seemingly think they could take over. I think their arrogance is going to get them in trouble. Though, listen, here's the rub. The United States, all world governments can stop drugs. It can be done. The problem is they are all on the take. They are all in somebody's back pocket looking the other way. Now, on a smaller level, yes, you got Border Patrol agents that definitely look the other way. You have police officers in those border towns that look the other way. That's undoubtable. But if the United States took a preemptive strike against a lot of these places, we wouldn't be having these problems, right? Interestingly enough, they could create a war on terror, start bombing shit, because it's in the best interest of the American people, and it's a national security risk. Drugs is a national security risk. That being said, we should have gone to war with and or in Mexico and other central and southern continents or countries, rather. Sorry. But we don't. We just sit there and we throw our hands up. We can absolutely bomb and, if not, light on fire fields of drugs. We know exactly where they are, but instead we do nothing about it. So, it's all bullshit, right? And child trafficking. You know that child trafficking can be stopped, but it's not, because so many higher ups and so many of the elites are involved. So many people are involved with child trafficking, guys, that it's disgusting. So many people, and child trafficking, by the way, guys, is definitely going to be involved in this whole border crisis, without a doubt. We've seen it over the last few years. It's definitely going to run amok come midnight tonight. You're definitely going to see so many kids crossing the border with grown men. And a lot of those kids are not related to those grown men. But again, so how do you stop child trafficking? Well, you got to go after the elites. This is why I tell people we need to stop putting our trust in politicians. If a politician actually wanted to stop child trafficking, they absolutely could. You go after the cartel, you go after the Albanians, you go after the Russians, you go after the people, the European folks who are in charge of this. You go after those Abu Dhabi fucking, Saudi dudes. You go after all of these people. You go into countries like Thailand and Vietnam and you shut it the fuck down. If you want to invade a country for any reason, child trafficking and drugs are the two reasons why you would do it. Child trafficking and drugs would be the reasons why any American and all people would stand behind another country going into another country to stop their bullshit. If I was president, I would absolutely light that scene on fire. On fire. I would throw everything I had on it. I would have every special forces, black ops group looking for kids and destroying those rings. We're talking about making an example of these guys who are trafficking kids on national TV. I would absolutely, undoubtedly have execution parties on the big screen, telling the world we're not settling for this shit and that kids are the most precious cargoes in the world. That's how you protect them, and that's how you show the world you care, by lighting it on fucking fire. But I'm just a fucking simple-minded YouTuber that doesn't know any better. There is a way to stop shit, guys. If we can, and if you believe we put a man on the moon, if you believe that, if you believe we're making a journey to Mars, you can undoubtedly stop the problems we're having. But we don't do that because we are, not we, but they are in control and they are being bought out and they are part of the problem. Right? But again, that's just my bullshit 2 cents. So yeah. And the CIA much? Hey, listen, Ozark Alpha. Yeah, I absolutely would. That's a reason why you invade other countries, to stop their illegal bullshit. And listen, there are a lot of countries who would absolutely join in on this. Don't get me wrong. So you can go to another country and be like, listen, you got a giant child ring sitting right here. We have videos of kids going in and out. You guys want to take part of this? Because if you don't, we're fucking your shit up. That's it, guys. If you are a believer of any kind, whether that's if you believe that children are the future, don't mean to sound like Whitney Houston, but if you believe that children are God's creation, if you believe that children are just these innocent people, then you set the world on fire to protect them. So yes, CIA much? Absolutely. Because that's what needs to be done. But again, nobody wants to do it. Everybody wants a fucking hands-off kind of approach. Well, we can't do it because legally, they all hide behind a fucking bullshit legal excuse. It's the worst, guys. It really is. But anyway, back to the fucking problem at hand. So, New York City, guys, is So New York City has its own illegal immigration problem. Eric Adams opened his mouth about a year ago, if not a little more, and stated, "We can take as many immigrants that come our way. We will house all of them," is what he said. "We'll take care of all of them. We'll house all of them." Okay, so fucking be it, fucko. Because when he said that, I was like, this idiot and his ego fucking wrote a check his fucking stupid, crippled, disgusting, shitbag body couldn't fucking afford. Right? So, that being said, what is he doing now? He is now doing what the governor of Texas did when the governor of Texas said, "All right, fucking Juan and Valdez and Maria, you guys are going to New York." And then he put them on a bus and sent them to New York. What did Adams say when they got here? How dare he treat these people like this? How dare he bust those people and treat them the way he did by inhumanely? How dare he treat them inhumanely by shuttling them to New York City and Chicago and only cities that had black mayors? This is Eric Adams. What is Eric Adams doing now? Eric Adams is sending illegal immigrants from New York City to Rockland County, which is upstate New York. Rockland County, if I'm not mistaken, is about an hour or two away. So now Eric Adams, listen guys, Eric Adams is why I call him a piece of shit and I fucking hope he gets ass cancer. It's because he sits there and he's the biggest hypocrite on the planet. The biggest hypocrite. I mean, he just sat there and motherfucked the fucking governor of Texas, what is it, Greg Abbott? He just sat there and motherfucked him, but he's doing the same exact shit Greg Abbott did. But he's going to say, well, they're not traveling that far. They're traveling to Rockland County. Meanwhile, Rockland County, and I forgot what town or city they ended up in, they're like, this is bullshit. But now they can't send them back. I'd be like, yo, I'm like, Juan Valdez, get your ass back on that bus. You're going back to fucking New York City. I said, we're going to play ping pong with these people. Fuck them. You came here for a better life. I get it. But now you're relying on the system to set you straight. Now, there are some illegals, guys, who are breaking away from that bullshit and disappearing into the country and trying to make their own way. I understand that. I get that. Do I agree with it? No. But I'd rather them do that and try to make a living for themselves than sit and rely on a system that they're going to suck dry. So, that, guys, that with all of that going on, my God, it only gets better from here. The city of New York is now utilizing city agency buildings to house illegal immigrants. A former New York Police Department training academy is now being used to house hundreds of illegal immigrants seeking asylum in New York after the city reportedly reached its limits of available temporary migrants housing centers. Right? So now, the building that's in question that they're using, one of the buildings, is where they still have firearms training. At that NYPD police officers still use an indoor firing range. That's where they're housing illegal immigrants. Okay. So, they're probably even going to use certain facilities like firehouses that might be abandoned or empty and stuff, things like that. They might even use that. I didn't read that, but anyway, Eric Adams repeatedly labeled the ongoing situation as a crisis, recently blaming now look who Eric Adams is blaming. Recently blaming the irresponsibility of the White House and the Republican Party in Washington for nearly 60,000 illegal immigrants who moved into the city. Now, upstate New York counties are vowing to fight Eric Adams' plan to send more migrants and asylum seekers north for temporary asylum. Now, I appreciate how they word it now. Now they're calling them migrants and asylum seekers, meaning not all of them are asylum seekers, like I said in my last video, because I think it's all bullshit. There's no fucking way on this planet that every country in Central and South America are in is a disaster zone. Rather, sorry. Anyway, fucking, it's just annoying. It's stupid. It's these immigrants. I'm sorry. These politicians with their arrogance. We got this under control. We're gonna handle this shit. Yeah. And then it kicks you in the dick, or rather the teeth, hard, right? And so now they're like, oh, wait, that's too many. We can't handle this. The budget our budget is dwindling because we're feeding these people. You're feeding them shit sandwiches, man. You're feeding them jail sandwiches. The same sandwiches that you get in Rikers Island or Holding. That's the same exact fucking meal that those people are getting now. And of course, like illegals or like people, the ingrates that they are, they're complaining about the food. You just walked fucking 1,000 miles. You took a bus ride that was a couple of days. You're worried about fucking food. If you're really worried about it, fucking bounce out of the situation. Go on your own and look for a job. Now, a lot of these people are coming to New York and leaving New York because they can't afford the living here. I don't know if that's an upside or a downside. But nonetheless, it's a fucking problem. But yeah. You get South American, Europe. Okay. You get South American, Europe gets Asians, Africans, and Middle Easterns. Adam 87, fair enough. Fair enough. The problem is these people don't want to make their lives better. They want to go somewhere else. All of them, Asians, Africans, Middle Easterns, South Americans, Central Americans, they all come here to make everybody else's lives a living hell. You came from a country that you could have fixed. You came from a country that you chose to run away from. Imagine if Americans who came here ran away from the Brits and moved somewhere else because they were like, well, we don't like the way things are going. We don't like the leadership. We're just going to leave. Instead of turning around and fighting. Now, a lot of those countries, interestingly enough, had their own revolutions. And yet, those revolutionaries in those countries are spinning in their fucking graves as they watch their great grandchildren leave with not even a fight, not even an argument. They just left. So just keep that in mind. A lot of those countries have revolutionary leaders that fought for their country at that time, hundreds of years ago. Now they're probably spinning in their fucking graves. This is bullshit. Our fucking great grandkids left without so much as a fight or an argument or a shouting match at the very least. Whatever. So now Eric Adams has been critical of Texas Governor Greg Abbott for sending migrants to Texas, from Texas to New York, but now Eric Adams is doing the same. I mean, again, his hypocrisy fucking knows no boundaries, guys. It really doesn't. It's just insane. So, here's where it gets even better. Even better. He is now sending, or he's thinking about turning parts of Central Park or a section of Central Park into Tent City. The last time we saw Tent City in Central Park, at least to my recollection, was the Great Depression. I was not here for that, clearly, but that was the last time we saw Tent City. They're looking to use parts of Central Park and other parks for Tent City. So City Hall officials are considering using the Big Apple landmark such as Flatiron Building District and the hangars at JFK to house incoming immigrants if the crisis becomes even more dire. Because he did it to himself. High-ranking city officials told the Post that the sites have been part of a brainstorming session, because Democrats are idiots, to cope with the expiration of Title 42 on Thursday. So they're trying to get ahead of Title 42 on Thursday by saying, you know what, we're going to put these people here, here, and here, instead of saying, we're not taking any more people. Again, even Democrats have to make a line in the sand. They're not. They're trying to figure out how to house them. You're going to put the city in a very bad spot financially, which we already are. New York City is already in a bad financial spot. Terry goes, I'm leaving New York. I can't anymore. Hey, listen, Terry, I'm with you. I would say about a couple weeks or so, hopefully in a couple weeks I'm out of here. Should nothing else pop up, I should be out here in a couple weeks as well. Because, yeah, fuck this city. They're going to bring themselves down based on it, just because they want to help, or their arrogance. I don't know what it is. I don't know which one it is. But either one it is, they're going to destroy this city just to help out people who don't belong here. Anyway, the officials said no decision has been made yet. They're adding locations. Some of many being considered. Again, Central Park was one of them, and I don't know. I don't know. They ran out of hotel rooms here in New York. So where they can house hotels or where hotels were allowing them to be housed, a lot of hotels said no, the fuck out of here. They were like, can we house Juan Valdez and his family? Nope. No, you guys, you can take fucking Juan and Maria and little fucking Juan and take them fucking somewhere else. They're not coming here. I'm paraphrasing the hotels that said that because a lot of hotels are like, no. It was a hard no, too. Um, Sources said that a team of officials from Governor Kathy Hochul's office in Albany, as well as a team of City Hall inspected facilities at JFK, which is controlled part by a Port Authority. It's one of the most congested air hubs in the country, and it's unclear if they found any space at the Idlewild complex they use. I don't know what the fuck that means. Meanwhile, Kathy Hochul is looking to secure $1 billion to help out with this crisis. Keep in mind, we have a homeless crisis here. They don't want to do anything about that, but they're looking to secure $1 billion for illegal immigrants. Now, oh, by the way, talking about homelessness and crazy people, the kid that got choked out, Jordan Neely. I didn't know this, but I when I looked at him, he looked familiar. But I said, it's a black dude, crazy. There are a lot of black crazy dudes that look familiar. Come to find out, he lived in this building, and come to find out, I knew him. Holy shitballs. My brother texts me. He goes, yo, did he live in our building? And I look at his picture, and I go, nah. And he goes, he used to impersonate Michael Jackson. And I go, oh, shit. And then when I looked at the picture, I go, you fucking kidding me? So anyway, yes, guys, the guy was legitimately crazy. I just thought it was fucking very interesting that this guy that I knew this guy. And now, and anybody who impersonates Michael Jackson, I think is a psych patient anyway. I can, anybody who impersonates anybody to the point where they're like in love with them, like Elvis Presley impersonators, I think there's a bit of a thing that's off with them. Anyway, so I used to remember this kid coming out like Michael Jackson with his little radio and his glove and his jerry curls, and he'd come walking out of the building, and he'd go to the train. He'd take the fucking train. He'd go to 42nd Street, and he'd put on a show. And I remember seeing him downtown a couple times, but again, never putting two and two together when I saw him downtown. When I saw him walk out of the building, I remember thinking, is that the kid from downtown? But again, I'm always in my own world. At least I used to be in my own world a lot. But now finding out that was him, I was like, yeah, the kid was crazy, but he wasn't that bad. He wasn't he wasn't that fucking crazy. Not when he was shouting shit in the train. But apparently he lost his shit over the last 20 years. Now this is 20 years ago when I remember knowing him, and not knowing him, like seeing him. I saw the kid. I didn't know him. We weren't like, hey, what's up, my nigga? It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was just seeing him come out of the building and go, there he goes again, moonwalking his way into somebody's heart. That's the relationship. It wasn't any. I'm not going to sit there like, yeah, I knew him. I knew of the kid. I seen him. I never spoke to him. I remember going, what the fuck is this kid doing? And my brother goes, oh, that's the Michael Jackson impersonator. So, matter of fact, I know his family. Let's put it like that. I know his family. I know his cousin. So, he moved here 20 years ago. I guess he had some issues with his parents or whatever it was down south. He came up here. He lived with it. I don't know if he came from down south, but I know he moved up here, and he lived with his cousin and his family for a little bit. And yeah, he was crazy. Listen, I know some psych patients, but whatever. It was what it was. But yeah, so when my brother pointed it out, I was like, holy shit, small fucking world. Just like, for those of you that remember that kid Junior, that's the kid that was stabbed to death in the Bronx. My brother knew one of the kids that stabbed him. So and even I'll even do you one better. Not that he knew the guy that stabbed Junior, but he almost got into a fight with the kid because the kid was trying to be a Billy Badass. And him and my brother had a standoff on Broadway out of all fucking places. Over here on the street, my brother was telling me the story. I was like, get the fuck out of here. He goes, yeah. He goes, that was the kid. He goes, that was the kid that fucking, he shows me the court picture of the kid. He goes, that's him. And I'm like, holy shit, small fucking world, right? So yeah, anyway, yeah, it's a small world, guys. It's fucking, it's strange. It's very strange how how you see these things coming and how the shit fucking goes out. But yeah, interesting. The Watchmen. Listen, I watch people fucking pass away, man, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's fast. And you know what's crazy about death? It's that it's a split second thing. Like I mean, like the newlywed that got married last week, right? And the lady fucking crashed into their golf cart and killed one of them, and the husband's still alive. The husband just left the hospital, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday, and so now he's got a plan for his wife's fucking funeral. He just married this lady, and just like that, it was all gone. That's the insanity of like when it comes to death. Like when old people die, you know that it's coming. You look at it like, oh, there goes Mr. Abbott. He's fucking 90 years old. Any day now, he should be dying. You see it coming. But when you see somebody die that quickly, and people, like my nephew, for example, 5 years ago, he passed away. He got hit by a car. Just like that, he was gone. Right? One day he was here. Me and him were arguing about bullshit. When you look back on it, it was bullshit. And the next moment, he was gone. Just like that. Right? So, hey, Rage in the Cage, man, thank you for joining us. So it's just insane. And so when you get to know people over your life and people just die all of a sudden, it sucks. It sucks. But yeah. So anyway, guys, yeah, this Title 42 ending midnight tonight is going to be a shit show. It's going to be glorious, if I might add, just because this is what people voted. When people vote in morons like this, the president, I mean, this is what happens when you do shit out of spite because you're like, well, President Trump did this, I'm going to reverse it. And then you reverse everything Trump did. And now you're going, fuck, maybe we shouldn't have did that. This is what you get, man. So anyway, it's a shit show. It's looking bad. As far as other things we're going to talk about, I'm going to leave it for next week. There is something I'm going to talk about. It was a cattle issue in Texas. Something like 100 and something cattle were dead, but all of their tongues were missing. And their tongues were missing, and there was no trace of blood. It was something crazy. We're going to get into that one next week. I've been holding on to that story for a couple weeks just because new shit keeps popping up, right? Yeah, Christian Prepper. That's the thing. They hated Trump more than they hated. They loved the country. They hated Trump so much they were willing to reverse shit and not even look at the outcome of it, or not look at the downsides of reversing a lot of this shit. Again, that's liberals for you. That's Democrats. They don't look at the shit and go, you know what? Let's take a look at it before we disband it. Like when Trump wanted to reverse the Obamacare, he took a look at it first. He didn't step into office like, we're reversing it. Though he said they were going to do it, they still looked at it before they did anything about it, and come to find out they really didn't do much with it because there were too many benefits with it. The Democrats are like, I don't care if it saves 1,000 lives. If Trump's name's on it, we're reversing it. Right? So, yeah, go fucking figure. Anyway, guys, with that, we're keeping this is going to be short. I will be on tomorrow night. Doubleheader tomorrow night. Then Friday morning, I'm leaving for Ohio for the old school camping thing. So hopefully that turns out to be cool. And yeah, other than that, guys, I will see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you for watching.